Close your eyes and imagine. You're sitting behind home plate. The smell of popcorn, beer, and hot dogs fill the air. You can hear the crack of the bat, and you can feel the stadium start to rumble from thousands of adoring fans. It's the game of baseball, one of America's biggest pastimes and one of the largest sports internationally. However, did you know that in the past few years, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred has taken several actions that are harmful to the game of baseball? I'm Tim Outson. I worked in the front office of a minor league baseball team for 4 years, and today I want to be speaking to you on why Rob Manfred's actions are harmful to the game that we all adore. When looking at the actions of Rob Manfred, one has to look no further than 2017 with the Astros scandal. In this scandal, the Astros admit to cheating their way to the World Series and winning the World Series by stealing signs from other baseball teams and the catchers. This allowed for the players that were up to bat to know what pitch was coming, in turn allowing them to have an unfair advantage against the other team. As I said, this led all the way up to them winning the World Series, potentially taking that championship away from a team that deserved it more that wasn't cheating. This is no small ordeal, but Rob Manfred kind of took it as a joke and barely punished anyone involved. For example, in an article by Mike Sississa from CBS, we can see that Rob Manfred barely punished the managers. At most, he only gave 3 of the managers involved a 1-year suspension from the game of baseball. These managers were Hinch, Lunhow, and Tubman. And again, it was just a 1-year suspension. This is minute to the career that they could have going on. Compare this to the Pete Rose example. Pete Rose, one of the greatest baseball players of all time, bet on a game of baseball. And when the MLB found out, they banned him for life from the Hall of Fame and all other professional baseball events. This is absurd. We see that Pete Rose basically just bet on a game of baseball compared to 3 managers that cheated their way to a World Series win. There's no comparison, but yet why are these managers only punished for 1 year? And why did Rob Manfred not decide to take this scandal more seriously? Along with this, we can see another article from CBS talking on how no players were punished. Throughout this whole ordeal, the players admit to the MLB that they cheated their way to the World Series and won the World Series. However, Rob Manfred decided not to punish any of these players and give them immunity. This is a joke. Rob Manfred basically spit on the careers of other players that their career could have been harmed due to the cheating, especially the pitchers at the time weren't aware that they were at an unfair disadvantage. Compare this to the White Sox from 1919 and the Black Sox scandal, where the White Sox purposely threw the World Series. This can be seen in an article by Baseball Reference where it talks on this scandal. All the players involved in throwing the World Series were given a suspension from baseball for life. Never allowed to play again, not allowed to be in the Hall of Fame. They were basically whitewashed from the game of baseball. Now compare this to a team that cheated their way to a World Series and won. 0 players were punished compared to all players involved punished. And what's the difference? Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred basically took this entire scandal as just a light whim and decided not to punish anyone too seriously, even though they cheated in a major way and had one of the biggest scandals in baseball history. And to add even more onto how Rob Manfred failed in his actions is that he initially lied to the fans and in his initial reports on how deep this went, and even talked about how ownership didn't know it happened, but later reports came out saying that ownership did know it happened. Another way that Rob Manfred has failed besides the Astros scandal is his actions to cut 42 minor league baseball teams. In 2020 and 2021, Rob Manfred decided it was time for a restructure of the minor league baseball system, and this cutting 42 teams. And this had immense damage to both the communities and the teams themselves. When looking at damages to the communities, we can see a hurt economy, jobs lost, and people losing faith in the Major League Baseball organization with their judgment with Rob Manfred. As well as this, it hurt baseball history. It cut teams such as the Clinton Lumber Kings, who according to their website have been in the Minor League Baseball Association since 1937. Almost 100 years, this team was just cut out from baseball history, and Rob Manfred took it as a joke. Along with this, the MLB forced MILB, the Minor League Baseball Association, out of negotiations and didn't notify teams when they were being cut. For example, the New York Troy were cut without any notification And this article comes from the Chicago Tribune, where the manager talks about how they weren't notified at all. They were just one day out of the MLB. Along with this, from Ballpark Digest, they talk about how the Major League Baseball Association let the PBA, the Professional Baseball Player Agreement, just expire. They decided that if they didn't push to work on it even more, it's going to make it easier for them to cut out. And Rob Manfred took this easy way out. Instead of deciding to negotiate with the minor league systems, he just said, oh, I'm going to take charge and I'm going to push through what I want. Along with this, the New York Times reported that the MLB had been attacking minor league baseball from Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred constantly slammed the minor league baseball system and talked on how that they weren't being cooperative with him and what he wanted. As well as this, KWQC and Ted Torno reported that the MLB was basically trying to take over the entire minor league system and basically force their hand onto all baseball nationwide, doing what they want and what Rob Manfred wants, compared to what the fans want. Again, Rob Manfred puts his actions of his own self-worth over that of the baseball organizations and the teams involved. Along with this, we can see that Rob Manfred has caused several other issues. One of these is the new rules that he has implemented, such as the 3-batter rule. The 3-batter rule basically says that a pitcher, to be able to play in a game, has to face at least 3 batters, compared to before when a pitcher could basically be substituted in and out whenever they wanted, especially in the 9th inning. And this was taken with offense by both the players' union and several managers. For an example, a CNBC article by Jabari Young talks on how large managers such as Bob Melvin, Joe Madden, and Dave Martinez spoke out against this new rule change and how it would affect their teams negatively. However, Rob Manfred, again, didn't really listen to what the teams wanted, but what he wanted, putting his own self-beliefs over what the game of baseball overall needed, harming the game of baseball and the overall play of a baseball game. Along with this, Rob Manfred has continually pushed for the runner on second rule. This rule means that when it goes into extra innings, a runner is placed on to second base. Again, this is what Rob Manfred wants, not what the team wants, but he's forcing this rule into play. Rob Manfred is basically forcing his hand, doing what he wants to do for the game of baseball, which can be harmful. And this can be seen in a from the Kansas City Royals, in an article by David Scarf, where this places a disadvantage on some teams as their players aren't as fast and they rely on other morals of the game and other spots of the game, but now they're going to be put at a disadvantage. Overall, Rob Manfred has been harmful to the game of baseball, a game that has brought together a nation through thick and thin, a game that's enjoyed nearly yearly by millions and millions of people. However, this commissioner, Rob Manfred, has continually attacked the game and put his own self-beliefs over the game's beliefs, in turn hurting the game, and doing what he wants in his own self-interest against what the fans want, the players want, and baseball wants alone. So think about it. Do you agree with what Rob Manfred has been doing, or do you agree with the game of baseball?